Hello and welcome back to Oxygen Not Included, a tutorial series for the early game. Just to remind you where we were last time, we have our research station set up here, bedroom, mess hall, cooking area. We were in the middle of relocating water to make a bigger reservoir over here and clear this area out. And next time we're hoping to work on an upgrade to our current outhouse situation to create much more good for the dupes plumbing and a full bathroom setup with water reclamation so we don't run out, so we can use all the water we currently have for research. So let them carry on. Research has stalled for the moment. I'm going to let it stay like that for a moment while we get all this pipe work finished so that we can get on with moving things around. And I did make a slight mistake last time with the food situation. The mush bars are what can then be fried, not the lice loaf. So I'm going to stop making lice loaf and make mush bars, which can then themselves be fried. We're going to make pickled meal instead of our meal lice in order to preserve those so we don't end up with a situation of running out of food just because we're not eating enough of it. New dupe time. Fertilizer could be useful, especially as we're getting more into farming. Having a stock of that would be good. But I'm actually going to do for the tidying operating person right now as a general all-purpose useful person to have around because they can handle machines, which are going to become more and more as we go along, and can work on moving things around as well, which is always good. So make the barracks a little bit bigger. Add a new mess table. And when we have room, we put a new bed in. Of course, we also have a skill with our new dupe. I'm going to focus on operating. As always, going to priorities afterwards. We're going to make operating biggest priority with tidying, supplying and storing secondary to that. You see, cooking is now going on, and the food situation will start to resolve itself. Still at 18,000 calories, so we're okay for the moment. It is listing meal lice. There we go. No, we're not letting people eat the meal lice, so we do have to be careful because that will also count the meal lice we have. So we can't get too complacent about that number. No, we're not allowing the meal lice to actually be eaten. And now, since we've just killed a couple of creatures, again to keep them away from our farming, we have barbecue available briefly. So I may as well have that. Hoping this will be finished fairly soon so we can get on. There we go. So our liquid pump is now under construction, which will start to move more and more water over to here. once it gets finished. Also going to dig out a tunnel there, because that way we can get this water with the same pump once it gets going. Which you can see it's now done. We can go to our pumping overlay, our liquid overlay up here, which shows us the water moving on the pipes. Different types of liquid will have different colours if we get to that stage. So that's going to come all the way along here, being pumped out quite happily, until eventually it empties into here. There's some of that is falling onto the edge there, so it's going to remove that edge to stop that happening. And to avoid soggy feet, I'm going to mop up this water that we do have here. Just put it into bottles, ready for when it is needed. Now that is underway, we can get to some more research. Talked about plumbing earlier, so other things we're going to need for that. We have other stuff we're going to need for the water reclamation. We need to be able to sieve our water and clean the polluted water that's going to come from our new toilets. So that involves distillation, so we'll get that going now. Someone has hypothermia, but as I mentioned last time, that will go away relatively quickly. Less than a cycle, and they'll be happy again. It is going to take a little time for that to be finished, but there's no reason we can't start building out our next area ready anyway. Okay, so everything's looking a bit tidier here. Water is flowing quite happily, though we do have an extended wait for that to be finished. So what else can we be doing while we wait? Put a roof on here. It's a useful thing to be doing. We are out of power, unsurprisingly. We now with the pump, we are using a lot more power than we are generating. So I'm going to build another couple of batteries for storage of that, and put in another manual generator. This is not going to be long-term additions. We only need them for the short term while we're still running on manual power. But for the moment, it will help keep everything running all the time. The biggest problem is running out of power does stop the oxygen diffusers from working. Plenty of oxygen right now, so it's not a catastrophe, but it could become one if we don't pay careful attention to it. Going to our electric overlay, you can see 120 for each of those, plus another 240 for the pump, we're up at 480, which is more than one can create, so we'll never actually store power anymore without the second generator in action as well. Let's keep on Nisbet's efforts just to keep all this going. One thing I haven't really played with before now is priority. When you click on any item, you get a priority down here, which lets you say to your dupe something is more or less important. I'm going to increase the priority on that generator so we can get on with it. Currently we're waiting for ore. Just check, we do have plenty of that. Copper ore 7.4 tons, so that's not the issue. It was just waiting for delivery. There we go. Now I want to build that. Here comes one. The way the priority system actually works is, first off, dupes have a different priority based on these, which is in multiples of 10. So if its list is very high, it gives a base of 50, all the way down to a base of 10 or 0 if you disable it. Then the individual priority is up in case of ones. So essentially that, for someone with building as the highest priority, went to a priority 59. And so at that point they would go and do it. But they wouldn't go and do it if they had something listed in their priorities here that was listed higher. But using these and the individual priorities together, you can get a bit more fine degree control of what the dupes are doing. That bed's not going to work without more flooring there. And we're going to lose our barracks benefit if we're not fully enclosed, so it needs a bit more roof on as well. So now we're working two of them together and the batteries start to charge. Now building has apparently been it's been fixed. Buildings can't work if they've been buried. So I'm guessing it was one of the beds, though we didn't quite catch that before. The dupes actually fixed it. So that's still a barracks. You do have to be careful it doesn't get too big. Obviously I've made all the rooms 4 tiles high. This room is currently 48 tiles. A barracks can only be a maximum of 64. So we can only go so wide before we need to look at making a new barracks instead of extending the existing one. But everything's running reasonably happily like clockwork right now. Though some rooms are getting a bit messy. And it may be worth doing a bit of tidying up around. So, storage bins, again, these are temporary. I don't want them to be taking up this space later on, but for now they can go here as a nice central location. And we can start tidying up rooms like in here, because we can't really see what's going on the floor there. We do actually have some water in there, a bottle, and some polluted water in there, but we can't see it behind all the other trash. That polluted water is fine in its bottle and is eventually going to kickstart our water reclamation efforts. A new skill. Who is it? We've got Ada gets a new skill. So, I mentioned before, the hearts are good for morale, but you can teach them anything. In this case, I'm going to focus on getting her all the way up to cooking to make it so the food she makes is that bit better. We also get an achievement for finishing off a skill line. So that's nice. I'm going to set all of these to be sweep only, but cake anything. So essentially, when I tell people to tidy up, they'll bring the stuff here, but they won't do that unless I actually tell them to tidy up. So now, tidying up is one of the options down here. It's there, and I'm going to clear out this area. So I'll say, down here is going to be the new toilets once everything's ready. Going to need an area for the actual water reclamation plant. And ideally you want it somewhere where the dupes aren't going to go very often, because it's going to be dirty and messy. This is a nice large area I'm not currently doing anything with, so we can start prepping for that over here. What I'm going to need for that is, first off, a way for them to get there. And then a couple of rooms, one on top of each other. Don't worry too much about the shape I'm making right now. It will all become clearer once the equipment is in. That's going to be where our water reclamation goes when it's ready. So there, it's starting to get a bit more get tidied up now. Batteries are almost full. Thankfully, the research we're doing at the moment isn't too pressing quite yet. Oh, notice we have another skill to assign. Nisbet. Field research is important for looking at things we find along the way. We haven't actually found any of those yet, so I'm going to delay that for a moment and go for improved tinkering just to improve the operating and make the electricity charge all that faster. Nope, new dupe time. And looking at it, another operator tidier is tempting, so that our research can actually get on with research rather than worrying about the machines. And as I said before, we're going to get more and more machines as we go along. Can't do doctoring. Increased germ resistance is a good package altogether, so I'm going to take Meep. And again, make the barracks and the dining room that little bit bigger to account for the new face. Meep Light is actually going to go for improved tinkering again, just to try to keep these machines working efficiently. Note the red there, we don't have anywhere to store the polluted water because these can only take solids. Eventually we'll fix that, but for now I'm just going to cancel that order. It can sit there for now. I haven't quite made this big enough. To make it a little bit bigger still. Now we have 7 dupes. We are getting to the point where 2 toilets really isn't going to be enough to keep them all going, especially with one of them blocked at the moment. That could turn into a problem in a moment. Someone is fixing that. It's unfortunately a very slow job on blocking an outhouse. One of the principal reasons why we want to improve the system as soon as we can. It's going to increase the priority of the work up here, so we actually get the barracks finished. Now you see the dupes have gone to work there instead. Thankfully, Ada doesn't care about people working in her bedroom while she's trying to sleep. I think actually I'm going to cut off that area there, just so that we aren't taking quite as long with deflooding the room. If we cut off that bit of water, it will mean we only have to empty this bit out before we can get started. Then I can move the pump over to there to finish off. And again, I'm going to make those high priority. You may have noticed the exclamation marks. Make something top priority. If you set something to that, it means they will do it at the expense of sleeping, eating, everything else. They will keep working on that above anything else and just make sure it happens. Similarly up here, we have the red alert option, so we can tell the dupes to keep working, ignoring basic needs, but working on generally rather than a specific task if we need to. It will cause stress at that point, as you can would probably expect. Stress, we're still okay. Meep has 1%. Because hungry and wet. We can handle that. What I'm going to put in is a water cooler. We researched this a long time ago, haven't actually done anything with it yet. We put one in there. It's a central area, everyone comes through to get food. Once that's done, they will stop and chat to friends there briefly. It counts as recreation, so that helps their morale as well. very, very basic recreation system. Now, the reason I put a roof on over here, I'm going to put a roof on over here as well, I haven't done it yet. Let's see that going. It's because we can then also use lighting once it's researched. And having a light in the room isn't great for things like bedrooms where people want to sleep, but it is good when machinery is being used because it makes that machinery more efficient. But we don't have that researched yet. Our food situation, we see now, is absolutely fine. 42,000 is absolutely plenty. So food, for the moment at least, is a solved problem. Oh, someone has food poisoning. A germ-covered mush bar. Okay. So, let's look at our germ overlay. Yes, these mush bars are poisoned from being left out too long, I suspect. So, let's have our ration box able to take cooking anything edible and any cooking ingredient to hopefully resolve that issue for the future. To update the hats. Food poisoning isn't the end of the world, but it's not something we really want to have to worry about. So when our current research is done, you'll see it's almost the case. It's time to work on some medicine. Again, going up the digging track, because the annoyance of coming across something you can't dig out when you need to is high, as I'm sure you can expect. The reason all this is happening, incidentally, is because this layer is sand, which isn't solid, and so will fall down as soon as there's a gap underneath it. These machines won't work while they're covered in sand. Not the end of the world now, because we have plenty of food, but it is something to be resolved. Research is complete finally. So as I mentioned before, let's find medicine. Here it is. And get our basic medical equipment ready. We don't have anyone interested in doctoring, unfortunately. Just checking, I don't think we do. And you do need this basic medical skill in order to use any of the equipment. So we're going to have to prioritise in trying to get a doctor or see who's got the highest morale, and we can cope with giving them a skill they're not interested in. Note the ration box for food is a very temporary solution. It's better than leaving it out, but it is unrefrigerated, so it's still not ideal. We will come across refrigeration later in the tech tree and then can make that happen. This chap who's gotten food poisoning, he will recover himself in just over a cycle. And you can see there what the effects of food poisoning actually are. He'll need the toilet more often, he'll use the bathroom slower, and his stamina is less, he'll need to stop and rest more. Not the worst disease, but it's still something we want to avoid if we can. This area is almost finished. Then even if the toilet room itself isn't ready, at least we can start on the reclamation plant. At the moment, we're just watching them work. Basic medicine has now been researched. All we need for the moment is just the apothecary, which is going to be, yes, another power drain, but will allow us to make some basic drugs to keep people safe from the most common illnesses. Sadly, as I mentioned before, we don't have anyone who can actually use it yet, but now at least we'll have it ready for when we do get someone, and we do get a new dupe soon. Hopefully, we'll be offered a doctor. That's pumping away quite happily. And now we have two people who are prioritising using machines highly. We're keeping our power supply up as well. Okay. No. Almost finished, but G needed a sleep. There we go. So this is going to be our water reclamation site. Underneath, we're going to store our water. On top will be where it actually gets cleaned. Now, when we get our new bathroom built down here, it's going to take in clean water. It's going to output dirty water, or polluted water rather, just as the sinks currently, wash basins currently do. However, for hopefully obvious reasons, it'll always output a bit more water than it takes in. So once we get this going, this should become self-sufficient, except that occasionally it'll need emptying because it will rack up so much water. So first off, we have liquid reservoirs. 2 will be for polluted water. This one will be for clean, and on this side of the ladder. We also need a way to get our initial polluted water into the system, which is going to be the bottle emptier, where we will empty our nice bottle of polluted water here in to get things kick-started. And we'll need a pump to make things happen. Above, we'll need the water sieve. We'll have a storage bin. Composting, because we will get dirt out of all of this. And we're going to use a new, fancier than wash basin, actual sink, which is the same as the wash basin in many ways, except it is actually plumbed in, so it doesn't require so much maintenance from the tubes. Once those are all built, we'll come back and actually plumb them all together. You can see here the apothecary is telling us we don't actually have anyone with the skill to use it, and we haven't told us to do anything anyway. New skills for Liam, who's our farmer, so we'll keep him at farming. Once we are ranching, he'll become our rancher as well. You see this is going a bit quicker now. We've got this water blocked off, so we just have to worry about this side. It's going down a lot faster. Research is done. So go for interior decor and some artistic expression. That's for the lights I mentioned earlier, and also some basic decoration just to improve morale in some of the rooms again. And here's our new dupe. Here's hoping for a doctor. And we do not have one, which is a shame. We have a caregiver who is at least good at medicine and can do other useful things, so we'll go for Ruby and suck up the fact we'll have a small morale penalty. Now if someone can use it, we can make a few things here. We have vitamin chews. The problem is that they need to make so many of those for them to be useful. I tend to not worry about them. Same for immuno boosters. The dupes need to eat them every day. Curative tablets are good to have on hand because they will allow us to get rid of things like food poisoning. I would like to have as many as we have actual population. And again, allergy medication if we have any dupes which we're particularly worrying about allergies. But for now, we'll just worry about the curative tablets. Medical packs are things we'll need for more advanced illnesses later on, but we can't actually make them yet because they require balm lily flower and phosphorus, which we haven't come across. And of course, as always, we're going to need a bigger barracks. And we can afford one more expansion, and then this room will have to be done. And another mess table. And goes to priorities. Ruby is our best doctor, so we'll have that as highest priority for when it needs to be done. And again, was a decent cook, so if no one else is available, and is a good operator. So we'll take those tasks on if no one else is around to do them. This is almost done. Another cycle or so and we should have this room dried out. Though do note down here is almost entirely carbon dioxide rather, which is not ideal for the bathroom. So we're going to have to put some way of generating oxygen down here too. In fact, generally we can see a lot more grey starting to appear rather than the blue we like on our oxygen overlay. Some research complete. So, ceiling lights, as mentioned before, I'm going to put those in to keep the work that's going on a bit more efficient. Sadly, like so many other things, that requires some power. Thankfully, not very much. So our wires are all starting to turn a bit yellow occasionally to show that they are working at strain. If everything on them is working at once, the potential load is greater than they can actually take. Thankfully, given we could create a quick stock of medicine and then stop, that will hopefully not be too much of an issue. But we can control that slightly by staggering our research a bit and things like that as well. Similarly, once this is finished, we can take it off the circuit and life will get a bit easier. Though we may start to see wires getting damaged. The ration box will also store our medicine for us in a nice central location. This is almost all plumbed in, just waiting for some copper ore, which again we have plenty of for the moment. Everyone hard at work, no one idle. Decrease the priority on that a little to see, hopefully get it finished. There we go. So, this site's going to have to take in dirty water, polluted water, and output clean water. I'm going to funnel all those through my liquid reservoirs, just in order to keep the pipe work a bit more organised. I'm not going to be powering that up yet because we can't afford the power drain and there's nothing to pump anyway, but we can start on the plumbing. Liquid pipes and liquid bridges, what we're going to be using here. Liquid bridges are useful because they can control the direction of flow. So, for example, I want anything dirty water to come in, clean water to go out. So we start off, clean water will come out of here, and I will want that to go into here. That will then come out and both go into there and off to supply clean water where it's, as and where it's needed. Dirty water will come from here. And will come out of here. This is where our dirty water will enter the system. Yeah, so everything that needs to be plumbed in is now attached. This I'm going to want to store purely sand, because that's what the water sieve needs. I see down here, produce water from polluted water using sand, and then produce polluted dirt, which is what that will take in, and to take it down into dirt. And once all that's plumbed in, we'll also need to provide power to the sieve and the pump. Oh, we're done down here. Excellent. We can mop up these last little bits. Deconstruct that. And so with the power down here, we're not going to need. So that can be destroyed as well to get some of the copper back. We will need some pipe work, but I'm going to start that again from scratch. Okay, so down here we are going to have 2 lavatories. We are going to have 2 sinks. And in the middle of them, I'm going to put an oxygen diffuser, just to create some oxygen here rather than carbon dioxide. I'm also going to hopefully very quickly research ventilation to get the airflow tile, which will allow the oxygen to pass through and not be stuck in here. But for now, it's fine if this room gets full of oxygen. And we're going to prioritize all of those nice and high because this job really should have been done by now. Going to set that to accept polluted water only when told to sweep, but not actually sweep it up yet because I don't want people working here while there's polluted water around. Here we go, this is all getting done now. And as always, we're going to put a door on to make it into an actual room rather than just a collection of stuff. I'm starting to get food decaying. which shows we have too much, ironically. So I'm going to stop making food for the moment. You have to keep an eye on that to make sure it doesn't get too low. Well, now we've actually stopped cooking. We will keep making our pickled meal, because at least that will last. And it's better than nothing if it comes to it. So to keep making the mush fry out of the mush bars we have available. New achievement. We've cured people of disease. That's nice. Okay, this is all done. So we need power. For the oxygen diffuser. And then we need more plumbing. All the inputs can run together and all the outputs can run together. All the outputs are going to be diseased water. So we know that needs to come to here. They're going to put a floor on here as well, just so we have somewhere for the pipe work. Oh, new dupe. Nothing terribly helpful right now. Oh, that'd be really useful later, but I don't really want to play with crude oil yet. I'm going to reject all of those. Then a bridge, because you never want to actually have these pipes. That pipe work's a bit messy. Later on we can tidy up a bit, but it's a nice starting point at least to get this system working, which I'm desperate to do because this area is starting to get very much overloaded with 8 dupes and only 2 outhouses. The lavatories thankfully used a lot quicker, so we should still be able to cope with 2, but if not, we can dig down a bit and create another copy of that essentially. As before, I'm going to set the sinks to only function when people are actually leaving the room. And so with this one I'm going to set to only function when people are leaving the area to the left, going left. Time to get some power over here as well ready. And hopefully in a couple of minutes we'll have a nice system to show off. So one solution we could take advantage of if we wanted to at this stage for our food rotting issue is we could actually move our ration box to somewhere full of CO2, because in CO2 food doesn't degrade. Okay, that's well underway, and we'll start off next time with very exciting actually seeing this work. Bye.